And welcome back to Flow Sports Fix on this Thursday. Looking forward to a wonderful talk now with our world game guru, Ellis Gelios. G'day, Ellis. How are you today?
Good to be back with you, Clayton. And I've got to say, considering the fact that most people thought that there couldn't be any more drama in the A-League so far this season, we get Lightning ending a game short last night. So it seems as though there's just no end at all to the thrills and spills going on in the A-League this season.
I think they wrote the storyline, and now they're quickly rewriting it because it seems to be getting rewritten. It's like watching one of those TV shows where they've got to keep changing it all the time, which is good because that's what us fans really want. So, yeah, Lightning, yeah, it was an amazing thing. But there you go. All right, well, we're getting into the round of matches, match day 16. And it all starts tomorrow night, mate.
It does indeed. Yeah, we've got some big games to look forward to. And like I was touching on before, it's just one of those seasons where you honestly can't take your eye off a game. It's just purely that simple. We've had VAR decisions left, right, and centre influencing games. We had a 2-2 draw just on Tuesday evening between Western Sydney and Central Coast Mariners. VAR very much at the centre of it, but VAR aside, it just felt as though it was so end-to-end, you honestly couldn't take your eye off the game. And considering even though we had some VAR indecisions last night and a game being cut short due to player welfare concerns with some lightning strikes being within 5 kilometres of the ground between Sydney and Perth last night, it still feels as though the A-League is just delivering week in, week out this year, and it will continue to be that way when we have our next round of fixtures coming up. So there's lots to look forward to. Obviously, Brisbane Roar and Macarthur, 2 teams that have been quite hard to read as of the last month. Macarthur, not known for their attacking ability. Ante Milicic has really sort of based his plans this season on a really resilient back four, a tall back four as well. And they're really the kind of side that looks to either counter-attack fiercely within the first few minutes of a game, take a 2-0 sort of handy lead into half-time and then defend for their lives, or sort of score off a set piece and just see a game out. Brisbane Roar, we saw how emphatic their start was to the competition, but they've really tapered off in the last month, and there'll be plenty of concerns there, perhaps a bit of an over-reliance on the young striker Dylan Wenzel-Halls. All kind of talk about him being a potential Socceroos bolter, and most certainly at least a bolter for the Olyroos as they look to get their Olympics campaign underway soon. But other than him, he's really been the only beacon of hope for Brisbane Roar in the past few weeks. They've struggled to mount a consistent spread of results. They haven't looked particularly convincing either, especially at home, which will concern them. So going away to Macarthur will be a very difficult trip for Brisbane, and I see Macarthur getting up in this one, Clayton.
Yeah, I would agree with you. The Brisbane Roar, they don't like travelling south. They prefer to keep it in the warmer climate of where they are in Brisbane. And that's just talking to some of the friends that I have that live in Brisbane that go to the games, and they go, we don't like going south. So yeah, that's just what happens, and that seems to be indicative of their side. Moving on to some games on Saturday, and Newcastle and the Melbourne Victory.
This is a very interesting game. We certainly never expected to be talking about what seems to be such a dead rubber between both these clubs. Plenty of pessimism probably out and about within the Newcastle Jets fan base, considering all their off-field dramas this season. Obviously, we know it's been very well documented that there was no money being put into the club for some 18 months. They were really doing a very good job to keep themselves afloat without any financial assistance from their former owner, Martin Lee. We now know that they're owned by a small consortium of other A-League owners, whilst the league attempts to find them an owner. But after appointing Craig Deans, who really had plenty to boast about as an interim manager, they sort of haven't really hit their strides as of the past month. It's been quite a dour performance week in, week out by Newcastle, which has been disappointing because when Craig Deans first came on the scene, there was plenty of reason to be hopeful. They looked to really be in plenty of games, whether they won them or not. And I just feel now as though hope seems to have been dashed for the remaining few games this season under Craig Deans with Newcastle, and they'll really need to bolster their squad in the next transfer window because the players they brought in from other sort of small-time leagues in Asia just haven't really delivered. But it's really all about Melbourne Victory because we expected after a huge rebuild in the off-season that the Victory would be up and about this year. They had a very promising Asian Champions League campaign in Doha. They made it out of their group. So everything suggested that the Victory would at least be competitive this season in the A-League after what was a pretty disastrous year last year where they just managed to avoid winning the wooden spoon for the first ever time. But it looks as though they're going to be resigned to that this season, Clayton, because they're languishing in 12th place. And this is, of course, the so-called biggest club in the land. And what really concerns me about the Victory is that there's been all this talk that, well, Grant Bremner, he surely can't see out more than a week. Every performance just seems to be more and more drab than the previous week. And despite getting a very fortunate 1-1 draw away to Central Coast a fortnight ago, they've just been losing too many big games. They lost at home 3-1 to Adelaide United. They were absolutely spanked to Sydney FC again at home. It should have been 4-0, but they managed to keep it at 3 with a goal being chalked off late on Sunday evening, just gone. And we know that they obviously got absolutely dismantled and embarrassed by their nearest crosstown rivals, Melbourne City at home, about a month ago, 6-0. So these results really suggest that it's not a tenable position for the manager, Grant Bremner. But there seems to be no movement from the Victory board. It's certainly a divisive board. We've seen one board member leave and put his shares up for sale. So it seems as though there's no captain calls being made upstairs, and that should really trouble Victory fans because not only are they not getting results this season, but just the manner of their performances are absolutely dire, and there's so much to be concerned about for the Victory. But then looking at the other games, we've got a huge one between Sydney FC and Melbourne City. Look, Sydney FC seem to be back in some form now. I see them being too strong at home, if I'm honest, against Melbourne City. I know we've spoken about how up and about City have been in the last month under Patrick Isnorbo. They've been absolutely electrifying to watch. But I think Sydney have had a really good home record this year. I think Sydney will get up in that game, and it's a very important one for Sydney as well. If they win it, they'll suddenly jump Melbourne City into second, and all this doom and gloom talk that we've been surrounded by in the last few weeks concerning the champion Sydney FC will look like it's going to evaporate. And then Adelaide United, Western Sydney, Saturday night is also a very, very big game. Adelaide United, if they are the real deal this year, they'll need to win that game. No question about it. Western Sydney, they failed to convince me, Clayton. They've gotten some better results in the last 2 or 3 weeks, but they just aren't performing consistently well. It took going down at home to Central Coast for them to really be sort of, sparked on to come out and attack, and it took some late but much-needed changes from Carl Robinson as well, getting Bruce Kamau on. They managed to score 2 goals, and only the second ever player in their history to score 2 goals as a substitute. So Western Sydney, they are not convincing me at the moment, but the one thing that will vote in their favour going into that game on Saturday night against Adelaide United is that they've got a good record at Cooper Stadium. Adelaide United seem to stutter on many occasions when they play Western Sydney at home. So it'll be interesting to see how that one pans out.
Yeah, it's almost like that's the bogey side, and so I'm nervous about it, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed that Adelaide United will win that one for us. On to the Sunday game, and we've got Wellington Phoenix, and they're hosting Western United.
Yes, look, Wellington for me are a bit of a concern. They went on a really good run under Ufuk Talay, but in the last few weeks they haven't been picking up results, and they've also, if you look at the table, they've played more games than most other clubs as well. So they're going to start to run out of games, and we know all about the issues they've had in Wollongong. Obviously, it's not their home base. It's really difficult for them to get up and about each week, particularly when they're not in form. when they're playing at a home venue that's not their home. And why, to be fair, would anyone in Wollongong really want to support this cause from Wellington? They want their own side, of course, in the competition, the Wollongong Wolves. But anyway, that's a side issue. Wellington are going to start to run out of games quick smart, and they need to beat Western United. Western United haven't been good travellers this year, that is for sure, but they did win 1-0 against Newcastle Jets last Sunday, so they are in some better form under Mark Rudan. They've got so many good players, though, Clayton, that I'm convinced they'll figure out a way to get a result in this game. We can talk all day and all night about how important Alessandro Diamante is to them, obviously the Italian superstar who just seems to age like wine in this competition. He's just absolutely brilliant. He's having an even better year this year than he did in his first season with the club last year. But you talk about Bessa, Barisha, Risdon, Josh Risdon, the fullback, such a strong defence, some great midfielders, so much talent. Western United, with Wellington not looking to be in such good form right now, I don't see how Ufukale can rally up his troops to get a result on Sunday, and it'd be a much-needed result. So you'll expect them to throw everything at Western United, but I see Western United, particularly with them now looking to cement a spot in the top 6, that they'll be home and hosed on Sunday.
No worries, kind of agree with you. Then there's a couple of games next week, just quickly. We got Newcastle Jets and the Perth Glory. Yeah,
so really Perth, they'll feel aggrieved last night having their game be cut short due to lightning within the radius of the venue. So, and they were very much in that game against Sydney FC, it has to be said. Not an easy place to go, especially when you're Perth on the western seaboard, travelling to the champions at their ground. But Perth made a good account of themselves, very competitive, should have probably scored one in that first half, had a clear penalty denied as well. And obviously no one was going to feel overly stoked when there's 4 minutes of stoppage time that they can't play, and when Sydney FC are defending for their lives due to a lightning protocol. So they'll have some fire in the belly, and you'd expect them to really, you'd expect Newcastle at least not to be enough chop against Perth. Newcastle not really playing for a whole lot more than hope. They are still mathematically, in contention, you could say, but it would take a lot for them to make it from here. They're on 11 points. Western Sydney in 6th spot sit on 24 points. So it'll be quite a mammoth task for Newcastle to pull off a finals finish this season, playing for pride and playing for some kind of incentive for someone with a bit of cash to come along and buy them. But I don't see it being enough of a motivational cause to get over Perth, who very much are alive this season, and they've got games to catch up on as well. So Perth will want to start picking up points quick smart away to the Newcastle Jets on Tuesday evening.
And you'll be there next Wednesday night to see Adelaide United host Macarthur?
Absolutely. Look, the novelty of a midweek game, particularly when it's in the city that you reside in, never gets lost on me, and I've been watching football for nearly as long as I can remember, Clayton. So I'm always up and about, whether it's a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. I'm there, rain, hail or shine, and I can't wait to see my Reds in action. But it'll be a tough game against Macarthur. They're absolutely no walk in the park, and despite them probably not being overly convincing in the last month, I still think they'll provide a stern challenge to the Reds next Wednesday night. It'll be the first time they've travelled here at Macarthur in their history, so there's that for them to look forward to as well. And we know how opposition teams do relish getting an upper hand against Adelaide at Cooper Stadium because it's such an intimate venue, and you can dictate the course of play at this ground. It'll really get you confidence going forward. So Macarthur, they'll very much look to come here and spoil the good mood that Adelaide United fans are in right now.
Adelaide United will prevail. That's just my hot tip. So there you go. All right, no worries, Ellis. Yes. Thank you so much for sharing your tips and your insights with us on the A-League. Some all-important games coming up over the next few days, and we'll look forward to your analysis and that also on our flownews24.com site as well. And we will talk to you more, I guess, on the world game issues next week, because there's some Champions League, there's some more EPL that we need to discuss, and we'll get into that next week on the Sports Fix. But thank you for joining us today, Ellis.
Football never sleeps, Clayton, and I can't wait to talk about it again with you. But have a great week, and we'll see you soon.